Okay.
Good morning, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride, and once again I'm here this morning with my associate trainer Amber and her lovely boy Legolas here. So Legolas in the last week or so has just kind of come to a new place, as horses do. You go along and you ride along and you ride along and things seem to be going along, and all of a sudden it gets easier, and all of a sudden we see this completion of the top line, the horse able to bring his neck up. And that's what this horse has just come to in the last couple of weeks. So I thought it would be a good time to do a video so you can all take a look and see if we can achieve that, and see if you can see the difference in them as your horses develop, because you want to be able to recognize that moment when suddenly the horse can come up into a wonderful working walk and stay over his back. So we shall begin, but as always we will begin in the stretch. Proceed. As always, no matter how high a level we're going to go to, we always start at the same place, which is a stretch over the back in the walk. Just like yourself, which I hope you all go to the gym and work out, we don't just start out doing the hardest things we can do we? Or we'll injure ourselves. Same thing is true of the horse. We have to take this moment to let him stretch out, get the blood flowing through all the joints, get the joint fluid moving a little bit. Just continue large in that big open swinging walk. Very nice. And just continue large in this. From the other end down the center line and leg yield to the left, still in the stretch. We always do a few lateral movements in the stretch. But what we will see with this horse today is he's going to be able to come up into a working walk a little sooner than he has in the past. Good, that's a good leg yield. And just try to let him stretch a little deeper, so you can see how he brought his head up just a little bit, but she caught that, sent him back through and right back into the stretch again. Very nice. So you can see how she comes behind the vertical at times when she wants to move the horse through, but as soon as he comes round underneath her again, she's going to stretch up and flatten her shoulder blades into her back. Go ahead and change the rein across the next diagonal, once again still in this big swinging walk. Legolas in the beginning was a particularly wiggly horse, so he's quite a large horse, 17, 1 or 2 at least. And he's kind of like a big teenager, so if you see her moving her hands around a little bit, she's just trying to maintain contact with him, following where he goes. She can't escape the contact. And what you'll see from this video is that is much less than in previous videos. Turn by the center line there and leg yield to the right. And you can see how he resisted that just for a moment, and then she was able to put him right back in the stretch and get him to swing over and through. Now on the circle here, begin to bring him up into a working walk. So we'll see if his pole is able to come up a little sooner now and flex at the pole. Remember when we started this horse, he was another horse who had been severely broken in the neck. It was very back in the third vertebrae, meaning overflexed. And so we had to spend about a year repairing that damage, and now he's able to maintain it. Good, let the neck just a little bit longer, but maintaining that flexion. Right there is where we'd like him to be, right there for his level of development. So we see we're able to bring him up quite a bit sooner now. Go large in this walk and shoulder in down the long side. So as soon as we can bring a horse up in the walk, then we want to be able to do that. But look how well developed this horse is behind the saddle. Compare that with what your own horses look like at home. Very nicely done. So you can see that he resisted that leg for just a moment there, but he was able to soften him, put him right back into the shoulder in again. And we will go ahead and repeat that shoulder in on the next long side, since he had a few little steps there that we weren't too happy with. Neck just a little bit longer, yet a little softer through the jaw and poll, right there. So remembering that flexion doesn't mean we raise the neck. The head and neck position of a horse changes as it develops, but it also is dependent on its particular body style. So not all horses all horses can learn to collect to the degree of their conformation allows them, that is in the hind end, but where the neck ends up just depends on the conformation of the horse. Beautiful. Now let him stretch all the way down. So that was a good correction in that shoulder in. That got much better and more fluent that time. He didn't resist her leg so much. So we go back and give him a little stretch and go ahead and change across the diagonal in this stretch in the working walk. Develop the working walk again through the short side and shoulder again, in again, coming back towards us. Remembering that we're still in the warm-up phase of the exercise, but because he has developed to a new level, we're able to bring his pole up a little higher, a little sooner. Right there. And shoulder in on the next long side. So once again, something distracted him there for just a moment. No big deal. Just put her leg on, send him right back to the bridle. And just like the other side, first couple of steps, he's a little fussy there. But once he's settled into the bridle, that's really quite nice. Good rhythm. And let's do that one more time up the next long side. Keeping steadily in the working walk there. So as I said, you can see he's able to flex at the pole but not break in the neck. And that's so important. If dressage is ever going to stay dressage, we really need a whole re-education of dressage judges all over the world. Or they must start counting down all these horses that are broken at the third vertebrae, which should be show people that the training has been abusive or incorrect one way or another at least. So if we keep letting horses go through to Grand Prix with broken in the third vertebrae, what is it going to turn into? And that's kind of what's happened. We see way too many hollow horses at the upper levels. Now go ahead and let him stretch, coming back across the other diagonal. And of course, consequently, we see far too many horses ending their careers at a very young age. Because when they are ridden like that, you know, yes, the people who roller horses, they get their backs up, but they get the backs up in tension, which of course any athlete will tell you that tension is what causes injuries. So the horse might not only come up and be round, but it must be round through the back and relaxed for it to have any real value in lasting quality. Beautiful. Now develop the working walk again as you go down this long side, and from the opposite long side, half pass to the left. Once again, as you've seen from the previous videos, he's coming up now into the working walk so much easier, with much less effort and kind of locking into it, which tells me he's got enough strength to be able to do that. So once again, when horses are correctly developed, they can do the highest level movements easily. If you're having to force it out of the horse, it certainly can't be good for the horse, and it really is not a good movement. So the half passes have always been the hardest thing for this horse, but they are getting better every day now. It's like everything else, we don't try to perfect it in a day. We just do it a little bit each day. Pretty soon the horse can do it. So she's going to bend him to the left now. Of course, the half pass is the more difficult exercise where he must walk into the direction of the bend. But that was really good. And you can take that on across the diagonal. That was very good this morning. Very little change in his position. And look how much deeper he's stepping over and under if you look at some of the earlier videos, but also notice that his shoulder is still slightly in advance. Very nice. Now that was so good, I want to reward him right away for that, so stretch him Again here, and let him lengthen the walk all the way down the next long side. Develop the working walk through the short side at the other end, and once again, half pass to the right. Very nice half pass, Amber. That was one of the best he's done. Very good. All the way down, really make that walk swing out again, overreaching. Very nice. And now she'll develop him back into a working walk. How little resistance there was there at that time. Beautiful. Right there. That's wonderful. Now half pass to the left. So that's what I was talking about. It's only been in the last couple of weeks that this has really confirmed that we have enough strength across his top line that you can just bring him up like that and there's no change of the gait. Able to maintain the position. Now once again, he's a little harder maybe in this direction for the half pass, but that's still quite good. Notice she's still leading slightly with the shoulders. This helps the horse reach over and through. And by virtue of that working walk becoming more consistent, how much easier the half pass is, isn't it, Amber? Yes. Yes. Let him stretch all the way down one more time. That was absolutely beautiful work today in the walk. All the way down. Beautiful. Lengthening that walk. One more time at the end of this next long side. Develop the working walk. And then whenever you're ready, feel your way into the working trot rising. Young horses, we always want to take our time. You know, we don't want to get hung up on, as we do in dressage tests, where we have to do things. Now, fortunately, in the last few years, they have improved the lower level test, and they've made them more like they should be, instead of things that you'd need a third level horse to be able to do. Look how beautifully he came up into the working walk again. Notice he's not breaking in the neck, but flexing at the pole. And she's able to start him into the trot without much movement of the head and neck, like that. Now he's feeling pretty fresh this morning. We've had a cool morning, so he may have a few little yahoos in him yet today. Very, very nice. Now on the big circle here in front of me, let him stretch. That was a nice upwards transition for his first one. That was really excellent. Let's give him a stretch now on the circle. As you can see, he's still feeling a little fresh this morning. It's okay. There, as he starts to stretch, notice how the hocks begin to work more behind. Always watch, whatever the effect of what we do in front, what is happening to the back end. Too many people watch the front ends of horses, the face and the neck, and how high the horse is stepping, which has nothing to do with whether the horse is round and working through its back or not. There he goes. Now he starts to swing, and notice as the deeper he stretches, the rounder the circle in the hock looks. Once again, as I said, this is a very big horse with a lot of power. Very nice, like that. Beautiful. Go ahead and begin to develop your working trot rising. Bring him up now, and once again, this would have taken 5 or 6 minutes, you know, even just a couple of weeks ago. Now she can get him to the stretch right away in the trot within moments. Beautiful. Go large in that working trot. Pull right there. Look how easily he came up into that. And working trot sitting. Change the rein on the diagonal. So we've heard some upper level dressage riders, most of which aren't people who actually train horses, but who buy them trained, say that, oh, horses will never develop unless you pull their heads in, bend them over. Well, what you see, my point of showing you all these horses work is that you can see that nothing could be further from the truth. Getting them working over the backs is what allows them to come up without tension. Beautiful, right there. Just go large and maintain that, straight. When they can come up, they will, and they will without any tension. Beautiful trot right there. Keep that working trot. Very nice. and rising trot, and now let's give him a stretch in this direction now. But once again, you can see how much more quickly he was able to come up into that frame and maintain it. Now look how lofty the trot is starting to become. He's starting to have more thrust off the ground, and he's starting to lift more. You can see how his gaits have begun to slow down. At first, when horses are quite flat, it's okay that they're a little bit fast because we got to get them to swing through and develop their backs. But as soon as they can start to lift, what you see is now you have the horse tracking deep but yet lifting itself. You see how he begins to develop suspension in the gait. Go ahead and develop the working trot again. And once again, as you can see how easily it was to do that stretch and how easy he came back. Working trot sitting again. And of course, we can spend much more time sitting on top of the wave. So again, when it feels correct, it feels like a wave picking you up and carrying you forward, instead of like you're sitting in a hole being dragged along in a carriage. Beautiful. Go large in that trot. Down the center line, leg yield to the left. Remember to keep your shoulder blades flattened into your back, like this. Very nice there. But also look how relaxed the horse's tail just swings back and forth. No tension, no swishing. See a little bobble in the ring, but otherwise that was really nice. Very nice. Now rise to the trot. And a little bit of a lengthening up the inside track over here. And then change back across the opposite diagonal. Very nice. And in the beginning, we're not looking for the biggest lengthening we can get. Just that the horse feels that impulse move through the body. And again, lengthening on the diagonal now. Once again, not the biggest lengthening we can get, just sending him forward, feeling an impulse. Good, and go ahead and stretch him back on the circle here. He's looking a little tight in his neck, so I'm going to come back to the stretch again. Get him all the way back down there with a little more activity. So this is what's called equestrian tact, being able to feel what the horse needs, just not what you want. The horses will tell us when they get into working like this. They won't demand it, but they'll start wanting a stretch. When you feel the rhythm go, you know you need to come back to the stretch and let the muscles, the blood flow back to the muscles again so the muscles can develop. A tense muscle has no blood flow in it, so the muscles don't develop. Develop the working trot again as you go large, and then working trot sitting. Down the center line, leg yield to the right. Very nice. Go large and lengthen rising, going away from us on the inside track. Now you notice, like most public schools, the track gets worn down quicker than the rest of the ring. So it's always a good idea to ride your horse inside that track. And if you are at a place where it becomes extremely that way, always ride your horse to the inside of the track. Very nice. Working trot sitting again and shoulder in. How beautifully she was able to make that transition sitting without any change in the horse's rhythm. So he's starting to lift a little more now. That's a little bit of resistance in that shoulder in, but not bad. Same thing again, lengthen rising up the long side, then repeat that shoulder in one time. And back in the sitting trot. Beautiful, once again, very little change, very little difference between the sitting and rising trots. If you have to slow your horse down to sit to its trot, something's wrong. It means it's probably hollow. If it's round enough through the back to be set on, you can do it without changing the rhythm, and it will come up and support you. Very nice. Now that was much better. Now stay in the trot sitting. Change the rein across the diagonal. Your shoulder come around, flatten those shoulder blades into your back a little bit, and shoulder in down the next long side. Now you can almost see him wanting to lengthen now. You see that impulse beginning to lift him as he's warmed up here. Remember, this horse is a 6-year-old. They said Amber just got him about a year and a half ago or so now, maybe a little more than that. And she had to do about a year of just stretching to repair the damage that had been done to his neck. Very nice. Very nice. Now go large in the trot sitting. Stay in the trot sitting. I don't need to repeat that shoulder in because it was good enough. And from the opposite diagonal, lengthen across the diagonal sitting. Now ask for a little more impulsion. Try to get a little more up. Give him a little tap with your whip so you get a little more in there. And then lengthen, once again, not the biggest thing you can get, but with a little more swing. On the diagonal. Got a little bobble there as he accepted contact. Go large, stay in the trot sitting, go all the way around and again across the next diagonal. Build a little more impulsion. Yeah, good. That's more like it. Very nice. That's better. Now stretch on the circle here again. All the way down once again. Make him a little more active in the stretch so we get a little more push off the ground. There, like that. Good. There. See how much deeper the hock suddenly got? Very nice. Like that. And look how beautiful the neck is. You cannot even see anymore where his neck was broken, and he was severely broken in the neck. Bring him back up again. But when you go out to look for horses to buy, that's the number one thing that I look at, is whether the horse has been broken in the third vertebrae in the neck or not. That is over-flexed in that vertebrae. Which is like having a short in your wiring, so to speak. It's very hard to get a horse to come through. Now sit and again lengthen on the diagonal with his neck a little longer like that. That's more like it. There we go. A little better. Very nice. Now circle here. Keeping him up in the working trot. Bring your hands together there. Now he's beginning to bounce off the ground a little bit, building a little more impulsion in that. Very nice. There. There. You see he's beginning to carry himself now. Starting to overbend just a little bit. Keep it right there. That's beautiful right there. Go large. Maintain that. And from the opposite long side, half pass to the left. Very nice. Good job. Just to there, plenty. Straight ahead. Now for him, that was quite good and good enough. Now turn to the right. Keep that trot a little more active as you go large. Make it bounce just a little more. Find the springs a little more. Find the springs. Find the springs. There you go. Now lengthen down the next long side on the inside track. Beautifully connected now. That's more like it. Very nice. And notice that she let her hands just go wide just so she could maintain contact. Beautiful. Now give him a stretch rising again on the circle here. Really nice. you should notice that every time that we come back to the stretch, every time he comes back up, he looks even a little better. Whereas if we had just tried to maintain him in this frame for all this length of time, he would have by now gotten pissy and be swishing his tail and pinning his ears back, as we see so many horses doing these days. And that is why they're being asked to perform exercises that they have either gotten too exhausted to do or didn't have the correct development to do in the first place. Beautiful. Develop the working trot again as you go large and half pass from the opposite long side. And once again, look how easily he's come up into the flexion today. In the last couple of weeks, I said, really like last week, all of a sudden it was just there, and that's how it is. And all of a sudden they can do things and it's effortless. And they can make that total connection across the top line. Go ahead and turn right and go back and start that again. Just trailing a little bit too much the hindquarters. Turn right and go back there again. There we go, that's better. Turn right again. That was much better. We're going to repeat that one more time. This is the hardest side for him. There we go, that's more like it. Keep that. Couple more strides. There you go. Keep it going. Very nice. Now go straight and let him track left and let him go in the circle here.
He got down to that end and he keeps wanting to do lengthening.
Good. Now go ahead and do a lengthening coming down the next long side. There we go. Good to stretch up and balance him again. You're going to go back and do that one more time. Right there. Keep it swinging right there. Now this time length and rising. There we go. That's the one I'm looking for right there. He stayed nice and consistent. Beautiful. Now let him stretch all the way down. Very nice. And you can notice he's getting a little tired now, so we let the stretch be a little bit longer. And then we're going to let him have a little break in the walk in just a minute. So as you move over the center line, just go let him come back to the walk. Stay on the circle. Very nice. And just let him stretch out in the walk for a moment and catch his breath. Stay on the circle there. Now we've just begun working this horse in transitions, jumping a gait, that is going from the walk to the canter. So we're going to try that again. We've only just begun it. I don't expect it to be perfect. He'll probably have a stride or two of trot in there. Should be all right. We're going to let him stretch out in the walk for a minute, and then we'll just give it a try. And once again, it's not important that horses get everything perfectly. It's that they begin to gain an understanding as we ask them for new exercises. Good active walk, like that. Big swinging. Active. Now begin to bring him up and develop the working walk. See how easily he comes back up into that, which would be a good indication of what we're going to get. Yes, very nice, like that. So you see how he was able to step up and he didn't drop his back out from underneath him. So whenever you are ready, try to step up into the canter on the circle. So once again, I don't expect it to be perfect, so we have to build a little more energy. Horse has to begin to understand that it has to build a little more in itself to ask for it. And once again, just back to the walk and then right away ask. There, like that. So that's always the best strategy. And actually, that was pretty good. The last time we did it, we weren't able to step right up into it. So that's really good. Right there on the circle, a beautiful canter. All I'm looking for, that's absolutely wonderful today. Bring him back to a working trot sitting on the circle. Very nice. There again. And once again, rise and give him a stretch. That was fantastic. Huge improvement over the first time. So your best strategy when you're teaching this is to ask the horse, if you get a few strides of trot, bring him right back to the walk, but then try right away as soon as you step back into the walk again. Like she just did there. That was wonderful. And you can ease him back to a walk again. Change direction through the center of the circle. Flatten your shoulder blades back into your back again. We all have to keep stretching ourselves up. A big active walk once around this way. And now develop the working walk. Change your whip to your outside hand. Now you always want the whip on the side of the predominant leg, which would be the outside for the canter transition. And just settle him in the walk, and then immediately ask for the canter as soon as he comes back to the walk. Like that. Well, he does it. Yes, very nice, very nice. Excellent. Now the last time we tried this, we were not able to get, we had to keep a few trot steps in there before we could get it. That was absolutely wonderful. Transition back to a working trot sitting. Working trot rising. Actually, keep him right there. I'm beginning to see something I want. Go ahead and sit to the trot again. Keep that and go large in that trot. Right there. Very nice. And come down the center line and halt at X. Now once again, remember when you halt to stretch up. Don't push your seat down in the saddle like you're trying to do a sliding stop the way Western riders do. That freezes the back and causes a great deal of damage to the horse's hock. We don't want the horse to lock its legs out. Because if we do, they won't step up and forward and be perfect in the halt like that one was. Very, 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 very good. And walk forward. Once again, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride with my associate trainer, Amber and the most wonderful horse, Legolas, who's going to get a reward right now. That was an excellent workout. I hope that you could all see how easy it was for him today to come up and keep that consistent working gaits both in the walk and the trot. And once he stepped into the canter, how easy that was. And especially the last one, you saw him lower behind and just launch himself forward and lift himself into the canter transition. So that's exactly what we're looking for, and a huge improvement over the last time we tried this. So once again, this is Will Faerber from Art to Ride. Amber Matusik, say hello.
Hi.
And our good buddy Legolas. We'll see you next time. Thank you.